The Dentalpreneur Podcast. Okay, doctor, it's time to put down that handpiece. You're listening to the show dedicated to helping dentists get their lives back. It's time to decrease your stress, increase your profitability, and regain your passion. Now introducing your host, Dr. Mark Costas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dentalpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mark Costas. What is up, my friends? Hey, listen, this is fun because I get to spend the afternoon with a good buddy of mine, somebody that's known me for, over a decade, which makes me feel very old because she was very, very young when I met her, and I wasn't as young.
You're still young.
And now I'm 12 years older than I was when we met.
Yeah, we just talked about that this morning, didn't we?
I'm not a grandfather yet, but sometimes when I look at people like Ashlee, who's been in my life for a long period of time, I feel like a grandfather. Okay, anyway, joining us today is the COO of the Dental Success Network, Ashley Hirschfeld. What's up, Ash?
Hi, Mark. I'm so happy to be here. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute, and I'm the only one that still hyphenates your name because I knew you were when you were Ashley Evans. So I still throw it in there as if it's your middle name. So Ashley Evans Hirschfeld is here with us today. She and I, from time to time, like to flip on the mics and just talk about all things DSN, DSI, upcoming fun events, and the most common themes and posts with the most engagement inside DSN and some of our other social media outlets. So what do you got for us today, Ashley? Not that I expect you to have like the agenda for the entire podcast, but what are we talking about today?
I wanted to start off with events. We have so many cool webinars coming up throughout the month of February. And if you're listening to this and it's past February, you'll definitely be able to get these recordings if you are a DSN member, because we save all of our webinars. Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's kind of hop into what webinars we have coming up. So next week you are doing a webinar with Colorado Surgical Institute, Dr. Taher Dune and Daniel Brisky on presenting large treatment cases. So that's next Thursday, the 22nd at 11 a.m. I'm excited about that one because I feel like we're in a weird time, right? Like when it comes to people accepting, large treatment plans with all on X, like it can be challenging on presenting that and why that would be a good thing for them. So anything else you want to add on that? I'm excited for that webinar is the point.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about like where Dr. Dune is located, Greeley, Colorado, is very blue collar, very unassuming kind of demographic. Very, my favorite type of demographic is Greeley, Colorado. Very similar to like Chino Valley, Arizona, where my flagship practice was, Prescott, Arizona, where a lot of my satellite practices were in central Arizona. I never went super high end. I didn't do I did Scottsdale, and it was the SHIT show. So I love the blue collar kind of environment. However, if you're selling $25,000 to $50,000 cases, you have to really know what you're doing. You have to know how to present alternative third party financing. You have to know how to talk people out of their dentures and into something that's going to be much, much better. So you have to kind of create a starving audience and then provide them with the solution to their frustrations. And Dan and Taher in this tiny little office in Greeley, Colorado, were able to do so many full arch cases. And now, Taher has tripled the size of his facility. Dan now down the road has his own facility, and they still have really, really high case acceptance rates. They aren't doing these things for free, and they're not doing them at a discount. And these are not high-end communities where they live. This is not a high income demographic where these guys live. And consistently, year over year, month over month, year over year, they are converting a ton of these types of cases. So I couldn't think of anybody better to talk through this soft skill portion of like the whole all on X wave and the all on X training, particularly in this kind of social and financial environment that we're going through right now. There's, potentially an administration change at the very least. There's going to be a shakeup in politics, which I just had a call with a bunch of tax preparers and tax strategists today on another podcast episode, and we were talking about like, you wouldn't think it to be true, but there's a lot of things to consider, things that might be changing, just because, you know, we're speaking to a constituency for either administration that's trying to appeal to both sides. So that's all happening right now. There's a bunch of new legislation that's coming up from taxation and strategies that way. Interest rates are kind of bumping around a little bit. Consumer confidence is bumping around a little bit because it always is during an administration change. So there's a lot of things to consider, but the bottom line is it's getting harder to sell large cases. So this is very timely, and I think that it's going to be very helpful for people that count on these larger procedures for a significant portion of their revenue.
I love that. The next one we have coming up too, which really plays right into that. We have our Lady Leaders series, which is not just for ladies. And I know that you tell us to rebrand that, Mark, but we are at least branding that it's not just for ladies going forward. But we have Dr. Summer Casmel and the numbers guy of the Dental Success Universe, Jake Conway, will be joining us on February 27th to talk about the numbers that matter to your practice and that you may be missing. So some of these numbers are very common, right? You know, it's things that you should always be thinking of, like your overhead and your production, that type of thing. But if you kind of get into the nitty gritty, there's a lot of numbers that can tell you more, like number of doctor exams that you're doing. Like, is that too many actually? Are you doing too many doctor exams? Are you missing things because you're too many? That's my biggest example. We'll have definitely more details, but I'm excited to dive into that with Summer and Jake as well.
Yeah. That should just be called the Dental Leaders series, because Summer is an absolute rock star, regardless of her gender. And I think that many people recognize and appreciate her for her knowledge, her depth of knowledge in the area of practice management and all things culture, all things leadership, all things profitability. And she's proven time and time again at the black belt, second degree, third degree black belt range that she is the real deal. So every time she puts on one of these webinars with you, whoever the guest happens to be, there's a ton of gems and a ton of usable, implementable information. So one that I definitely would check out for sure.
I absolutely love it. The next one we have too, we are titling, and so you are joining forces with Jordan Comstock of BoomCloud. We shout out Jordan. We love you so much, and the BoomCloud team. But we are calling this one Escape the Dental Chair. And tell us a little bit more about your vision for this webinar. This one's happening February 29th on Leap Day at 4:30 p.m. Tell us a little bit more, Mark.
Yes. I mean, the next time we're doing this is a minimum of 4 years from now, because we are only going to hold this webinar on Leap Days. So don't count on this next February 28th, because we're only doing it on February 29th moving forward. Yep. So another reason to tune in. So Jordan and I are going to be talking about, I named this thing Escape the Chair. He threw in dental somewhere in there because I don't know, is that like escape the electric chair, or escape like my chair because I've had too many beers on a Sunday afternoon in my backyard? I don't know why he threw dental in there, but my title was Escape the Chair. But yes, it's going to be a lot of different strategies for being able to turn like what your current practice is into more of a practice that is capable of running without you as the bottleneck within the dental practice. You know, there's this really popular term out there right now, and I don't want to beat this to death, but there's a really popular term out there right now where people are saying you need to create a lifestyle practice. But I believe that a lifestyle practice is one that functions without you at all. But in the definition for a lot of people is the smallest team possible, the smallest facility possible, the smallest overhead possible, so that it's a lifestyle practice and you only have to work, say, 3 days a week. But to me, that's actually not a lifestyle practice, because now you are held hostage by the single front office person. If they don't show up, the world comes crashing down. If you're single or one of two of your chairside assistants decides to move away from town, which happens all the time, then you no longer have this awesome carefree lifestyle. If your one and only hygienist leaves you, or your office manager, you no longer have this lifestyle practice. What I believe in is building it up to enough scale so you have multiple redundancies, multiple providers, very profitable, low overhead, so that there is a little bit of wiggle room no matter what happens within your practice. And you could potentially go for a mission trip for 4 weeks to Tanzania, like I like to do from time to time. So that to me is a lifestyle practice, not one that's teeny and doesn't have a lot of moving parts. Those ones, in my opinion, are more vulnerable. So that is what that particular webinar is going to be about. And keep in mind, only once every 4 years. So jump on it.
You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. Well, those are all of our webinars. Dental Success Network is hosting coming up. Be sure you can check out our social media to get the links for those webinars to register or reach out to support@dentalsuccessnetwork.com and we will get you registered for those. And then we have 2 really big events. And if you have been hiding under a rock, then maybe you haven't heard, but we have the Dental Success Summit coming
up. San Antonio, Texas, April 12th and 13th. April 12th and 13th. Not 13th. In March.
This is our 11th, 12th?
It's our 11th annual Dental Success Summit. The keynote presenter this year is going to be none other than Navy SEAL, motivational speaker, Jocko Willink, New York Times bestselling author, everybody's favorite inside DSI because everybody gets extreme ownership as one of the primers for membership into the Dental Success Institute, because we truly believe that you got to own everything. You got to, for better or for worse, you have to take full responsibility what's happening in your business and your life, and pointing fingers and blaming other people for any part of your business or life that you're unhappy with is not a very productive way of looking at the world, not a productive mindset. So super excited to meet Jocko in person. He and I are going to be up live on stage. A lot of people have asked if this is going to be a virtual presentation. No, he will be there in the flesh, standing side by side with me, making me look tiny. Yes, Jocko will be there. So I can't wait. And of course, we're going to have all of the black belt coaches will be live and on stage there doing their presentations and sharing their wisdom. All of what I would consider the most positive, and like-minded dentists in the profession will all be there. So no reason not to come. Incredible, beautiful venue, perfect time of year. Last year, it was swelteringly hot because it was the end of June. In San Antonio. This year it's going to be perfect. Springtime weather. I can't wait to see y'all.
It's going to be lovely. I can't believe I'm so proud of this event. I can't believe how far it's come since its inception, and I'm thrilled. Oh, not to toot my own horn, but you also get to see Ashley Marie Evans Hirschfeld as the MC this year as well.
Yeah, woohoo!
I know you're coming for Jocko, but you also get Ashley. So
That's right. What we're going to see is going to be embarrassing. What we're going to see is everybody's going to be there for the introduction to all the speakers that Ashley's going to be doing. And there's going to be mass exodus when she steps off the stage. But at least we'll have people's attention for 3 minutes before every speaker.
I'll do what I can. Our other book that we love here is The Ideal Team Player, and it's all about being hungry, humble, and smart. And I really like to embrace that humility and being humble characteristic.
That's right.
Anyway, moving on. The other event that we have happening at that, at the summit, it's happening right after the summit, is the second annual Smile Outreach International Gala. So this year's theme is Denim and Diamonds, which Mark Costas was a promoter for.
I was not. I left it open to it was either masquerade theme this year. The 2 finalists were masquerade theme, kind of like, Eyes Wide Shut, where you just hold up like a mask next to your face. Or Denim and Diamonds, which is fancy country wear. We've gotten a lot of people like, okay, I'm coming, but what the hell does Denim and Diamonds mean? It just means that you dress like a cowboy and you're looking sharp. That's about it.
I love it.
Jorts welcome. Bolo ties encouraged. If you're going to wear a hat, make sure it's a black felt one because that's formal.
I like it. I also bought a bedazzler, so buckle up.
Buckle up, Buttercup. Here it comes. We're going to bedazzle. Don't set your drink down for too long because Ashley's going to bedazzle that. If you put down your auction number for a second, you're gonna pick it up. It's gonna be bedazzled. It's gonna be crazy. Everything's gonna be bedazzled. And we have some really, really great items that are gonna be auctioned off this year. We have a Vail ski experience donated by Dr. Summer Casmel. We have a Lake Ozarks barbecue experience donated by Dr. Bill Keith. We have a Grand Tetons mountain experience donated by Ben Kakis. We have a VIP Disney World experience donated by Ryan Gross, who used to work there at a executive level at Disney. So that's going to be good. I am doing a donation of a free ride in my airplane, my jet. We call her Sierra. It's actually Mike Sierra is the tail number, but a ride in the jet and on to Napa for some wine tasting at some of the finer wineries in Napa Valley. Dr. Justin Schmidt is doing a wine experience and a stay at his private cabin in Oregon. Gosh, we just have so many cool things. And we're just going over the kind of the run of show today with our auctioneer, and it's going to be awesome. And there is some live entertainment in addition to a lot of cowboy dancing. There's going to be some live entertainment, which we did not have last year, which we're integrating into the gala as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
I love that. I didn't know about that part. That's exciting. I'm excited to be there. Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, next step, since we're trying to GSD, Mark and I can sit here and bullshit literally all day long, but we are trying to move through all the important updates of the Dental Success Network world. And I want to move on to some cool vendor updates that we have for our DSN members. So if you don't know as well, typically on average, our Dental Success Network members, if you're not a member, but if you become a member, you take advantage of our buying group and all of the sweet deals that we negotiate, you're typically saving about $20,000 a year. So I have to just pimp that a little bit. Like we work so hard for our members to negotiate deals, to negotiate discounts. We listen to you when you tell you want a discount on something. We go to those people, we try and negotiate. So we have some really cool things that are currently running. We have deals with iTero. We just did a really sweet deal, and I'm not allowed to say numbers, which drives me nuts. But Mike, if you're listening to this, I'm following the rules and I'm not saying numbers. But we have a really sweet deal with the Glidewell.io system. So like the in-office milling, really sweet deal that essentially if you're looking for one of those, join DSN, buy one of those, and then it's going to pay for your DSN membership for the year. So Glidewell, iTero, Pearly. I know we talked about BoomCloud as well. We love BoomCloud. Pearly is a little bit of their competitor. We don't, have a ton of, we're here for our members. We're negotiating for you. We don't have individual vendors in certain categories and, that type of thing. We're trying to negotiate the best deals for our members, no matter what it is. And so we try not to limit ourselves when it comes to specific vendors that we only work with.
We don't have any exclusives.
Thank you for that word. That's what I was.
I will add something really quick, and I know I talk too much, Ashley, especially when I've had 9 cups of coffee on a winter afternoon. But I will add something else. We have several friends that have recently liquidated or taken some chips off the table and have partnered with certain DSOs. I won't mention any names, but larger DSOs. Let's just say a DSO with 100+ locations, right? DSOs have long been credited with being able to negotiate for their partner dentists that they have sold to or purchased either a minority or a majority share of their practices. They've long since had the reputation of being able to negotiate the best prices for their partner doctors. We've had several people that are DSN members and have sold to large-ish DSOs, and they've come back to us at DSN and have reported back and said the discounts that you guys are able to negotiate for your members inside DSN are actually better than the DSO negotiated prices, which is crazy for me because typically DSOs get better discounts because their partner doctors are mandated to utilize the suppliers and the labs and the service providers that they have partnerships with. So because of they're forced to utilize those services, they can negotiate a better price. GPOs, buying groups, typically don't get as good a negotiated price because the people have the choice to either utilize that discount or not. So the fact that we are beating, us as a GPO are beating several DSOs as far as their pricing models and formularies is very, very, what I would call impressive. So again, we're humble, but at the same time, we have to share our successes as well.
Totally. Last thing, when it comes to stuff to buy, basically, this is a very proud team moment. And if you haven't heard as well, I know you guys did a podcast on it, but I have to shout out again, Dr. Addison Killeen. We call him Killeen, the content machine, who created the newest manual in the Dental Success Manual series. The newest manual that he just dropped and released February 1st is the Dental Supply Ordering and Fee Analysis Manual. So we're here talking about supplies. Check out this manual. Visit dentalsuccessnetwork.com/manuals. You can buy this manual individually or part of our ultimate bundle, which includes 7 manuals, the 4 Futures Journal, his By the Numbers book, the Practice Launchpad book. We just have so many resources for you guys, and I just want to shout it from the rooftops every opportunity that I get. I'm super excited about this supply manual too. It's so practical. It's literally here's how you can save thousands. Just take this and do these things. I read it. I was an editor for it. And I'm like, this is good shit. So
good shit.
Be sure to check that out as well.
Yep. Awesome.
All right. Okay. So we're wrapping up. And what I wanted to close with, Mark, was a few questions we have that are currently trending in the dental success universe. We have our community. As you know, people are posting questions. Our doctors are giving feedback. We have our awesome faculty members who are giving advice constantly. And so I wanted to throw out a few questions to you that we had and kind of get your take on it. Mm-hmm. And go from there. So sweet. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Hit me.
All right. So we're going to start with a question from Dr. B. He says, I'm curious about who you are using for insurance verification and if it's effective or worthwhile. My office manager thinks it will be a waste. She says her previous office tried automating this and it was ineffective. However, my front office team is absolutely swamped and bottlenecking our practice. To me, it seems like the first and simplest task to hire out. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so I'm not going to endorse any specific companies here. All I would tell you is that there is no greater waste of time than having people that are customer facing, patient facing, getting stuck on a phone call for 10 to 30 minutes trying to verify a single patient's insurance. It is the hugest time suck. If you can find a company that can do this on an automated basis, utilizing technology or some sort of a SaaS product where they can help you do this offsite and you can outsource this out, or if there's a company that can do this overseas for you with real human beings that are actually doing the calling and doing the sitting on the phone for you, I can't think of a more appropriate and practical way to outsource than that. We've often seen people that have, 2 front office receptionists and an office manager calling to verify insurances for hours a day. And I mean, if you break down the opportunity cost, the opportunities lost as well, and the amount of other higher value activities that those people could be doing instead of waiting on hold for an insurance representative to answer, it's a huge time suck. So of all things, I think billing and insurance verification are the 2 big things that I would consider outsourcing sooner than later.
I absolutely agree. It's like to utilize your human capital for that is all I can do is reiterate what you said.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, next question. And I know your answer is going to be, well, that depends, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So the next question is from Dr. Goodman. How many patients does a solo GP need to bring on an associate?
Well, Ashley, that depends.
I'm the fortune teller.
I mean, it depends on so many different things, right? If you are a fee-for-service practice versus a PPO type practice, I mean, we've seen tons of fee-for-service practices that bring on an associate and healthily can bring one on for, say, 25 new patients per month, split between two docs, right? So those typically are practices that can charge, a significantly higher fee for any particular restorative or surgical procedure than other places could charge at PPO levels. So that has something to do with it. Across the board, I like to see between 20 to 30 new patients per month per associate doctor in a PPO type environment. Now, there's also a lot of things that you have to track. In addition to that, you have to track how effective your case acceptance is, right? So if I have 100 new patients, and we see this often actually during our hot seats and in comparison kind of case studies, if you have 100 new patients and you're struggling to get to $83,000 per month, then something's happening there. There's either these are really low grade patients. Maybe this is a Medicaid practice. Maybe this is a HMO practice. Maybe this is a PPO practice in a very low to middle class demographic that demographic just lends to a lower case acceptance. But you have to look at the case acceptance in a case like that and say, we're not effectively closing enough of these cases, or maybe we're accepting too many new patients and we need to decrease the number of PPOs that we're accepting because our case presentation and the number of exams that we're doing has exceeded what we can handle with the current infrastructure. So, sometimes depending on your case acceptance and the systems in your office, 100 new patients isn't enough because there's several different holes in your bucket. Sometimes 20 new patients for 2 full-time doctors is plenty because of the systems and the amount of, customer care and touch that you are offering to each new patient that comes in the door is sufficient, and your case acceptance is near 100%. So it just depends on so many different things, but those are my thoughts on that.
I love though that, you have to have a starting point, right? So when someone asks that question, at least you give, you're like, let's consider these variables. So I think, your answer is as good as you can get. It's like, start here, right? Then you can go from there. So start with those variables that you talked about. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah. That question is like, how much money does it take to be rich? It's like, well, that depends. Do you live in Beverly Hills or do you live in Cincinnati, Ohio? Like, what do you consider rich? Do you consider like first class on an airplane rich, or do you consider like a G5 rich, like where I'm only flying private? Like, there's so many different answers to that very broad question.
Agreed. Okay. The last one we're going to wrap up with is a pretty common question, but I find it interesting that it's getting asked because it's, maybe it's not as well known. And so Dr. Corey asked, what procedures are credited to the hygienist to measure them getting to 3.3 times their pay? For example, are you including radiographs in this calculation? Tell me more about that, Mark.
Okay, Dr. Corey, I think this is a very valid and a good question. A lot of people we have found doing the analyses of hygiene departments will include different things to come up with the actual production of their hygienist. So the questions come when like there's adjunctive procedures that are presented to a patient and they say yes, right? For instance, if a hygienist is responsible, quote unquote, responsible for a patient being introduced to the idea of a clear aligner therapy and then eventually says yes, that hygienist doesn't get $5,000 for their production. That hygienist would get some percentage as kind of allocated as the starter of this particular procedure, right? So for instance, maybe you can trace back this acceptance of clear aligner therapy, that's $5,000 case. Maybe in your particular office, you want to credit that hygienist $200 in their production for that. That's totally doable. But to get more granular and to answer your question, yes, radiographs would be included. Doctor exam, not included. That's doctor's production. Certain things that can be administered by the hygiene department, like bleaching trays, if they're taking the impression and they're actually administering the bleach or doing the case explanation for something like a bleach and cray, yes, of course, that would be accepted. Something like, adult sealants or kid sealants, obviously that would be done by the hygienist. Not if the hygienist is diagnosing that and then passing that on to their assistant. I wouldn't consider that production by that particular hygienist. And then there's things like mouth guards too. Night guards or sleep apnea can be a large ticket item. You could charge, between $400 and $700 for a night guard. If the hygienist is actually taking the impression or the scan, sending that in, writing the prescription, having the doctor check off on it, and then delivering that and adjusting it, I would feel okay with them getting the lion's share of the production for something like that. But again, like something like sleep apnea is a lot more like the clear aligner case, where they would get credit for it, maybe a little production for it, but not the full case amount of production. So yes on radiographs, yes on all adjunctive services that are being done directly by the hygienist, and then some sort of credit for larger cases that they are quote unquote pre-selling or co-diagnosing with the doctor.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, that's what I wanted to wrap up with. Mark, any more notes from you from the Dental Success universe?
No, we just got back from our latest trip to Smile Outreach International and to Tanzania through Smile Outreach International. So it's fresh on my mind and fresh in my heart that kind of this is why we do what we do. This is why it's so fruitful and I guess heartwarming, if for lack of a better word, and a good reminder. It puts everything in perspective of why we want to be surrounded by like-minded people that have a giving heart. This last trip was absolutely amazing. And the only reason that we were able to raise so many funds for Smile Outreach is because of the outreach of DSN and the outreach of DSI and the outreach of the podcast. So we just want to show you guys as dental success companies that like we really do want to grow for the sake of being able to give back in a large way. And geez, man, Ashlee, we've been talking about a nonprofit foundation since the day that we got together. And now it's like finally come to fruition. And it's just, to me, it's my next chapter. And it's what I want to focus on when everything else is done. I want to continue doing, missionary dental work.
I was literally about to say, like, I remember talking about this a decade ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, it's really fun to watch it turn into what it is. And I'm very proud to be a part of it and watch you get to initiate all of these fantastic experiences and help for so many people. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Thanks, Ash. I appreciate you taking the time this afternoon. I know it's been a super busy day for you as it has been for me, but every time we get on the mics together, it is a ton of fun. Thank you for sharing kind of your wisdom and all that's going on in the DS companies, I guess. And we'll talk to you very soon in San Antonio.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Mark.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Ashley Evans Hirschfeld.